Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Goldman. I'm the director of the Center for Free Enterprise. This is our final event of this semester. Thank you guys for coming. If you're here for extra credit, reading group, Cardinal Flight credit, there are QR codes at the back when you leave. Click on it, fill out the survey, make sure you put your name on it and why you were here. If you're here just to hear everything, please fill out the surveys. Also, give us some information. That'd be great. And so I'm going to keep it short because we've got a big panel here. So today we have a great panel on AI and its use in business. And Associate Dean Jeff Guan will introduce the panel. So Jeff, take it away.
Thank you, Steve. And my name is Jeff Guan. I'm the Associate Dean for Programs at the College of Business. And I have the pleasure of moderating today's panel. And I didn't say this, but I heard it someplace. The quality, 90% of the quality of a panel is casting. So I think I can take some credit, right? Because I cast the panel. And, to my right, I have Josh Howard. And Josh is College Business alum, and he's also head of AI at Heaven Hill. And then in the middle is Todd Schmidler, and Todd is also a COB alum. And Todd is has, oh my gosh, he'll provide you with a more full introduction. But he's an serial entrepreneur as well in AI. Of course, over on the right or to your left is Eric. And Eric is University of Louisville graduate and my same alma mater, Speed School, right? We all went to Speed. And so anyway, so today's talk is on AI, and in particular on why businesses adopt AI. And in fact, I'm going to ask the panelists to zone in on the return on investment. All right. So and then also today it's a little different than the other panels in that each of them is going to give you a very brief demo, so to show you what they actually do with AI at work. So first question is a self-introduction. So starting with Josh, could you provide a brief self-introduction in terms of your role in AI?
Sure.
At here?
So Joshua Howard, Speed School alum, College Business alum. My background is in electrical engineering, project engineering, and then sort of operations data analytics, and then change management. So I was brought in because we really feel at Heaven Hill that AI is not a technical problem to solve, but it's a change management problem to solve. So it's how do we get people excited about these technologies? Some of them aren't always, they're easy to use in that you don't need a technical background to use them, but sometimes they don't work right or they hallucinate. And so it takes a certain tenacity to get to the point where you're enjoying the tools. So I'm teaching people how to use ChatGPT, working AI tools into their workflows, and trying to get people excited about these new tools. We kind of see it as, we like to think of it as a company that AI won't take anyone's job at Heaven Hill, but someone who can't use AI will probably lose their job to someone who can.
I want to make a point of what Josh just said. Technology is the least of the problems. This is really a change management problem. And in fact, we're in the biggest change management project in the history of our species. Todd?
Wow, following that statement. I'm Todd Schmidler, and I apparently can get very loud. And as Jeff alluded to, I have been able to start and run, I think now we have 6 companies. And I started about a year ago actually expanding what we're doing because of AI. A year ago in October, the only thing that I used AI for was basically a souped up Google and to help me with my emails. And I found a business problem that I could not figure out how to answer. And it evolved around my people. And when I thought, how am I going to answer this? I knew that the question, I was asking the wrong question. The question that we're trained to ask is, how can I solve it? When in fact, I should have been asking, who should solve it? And the who, I figured out for me, was I had to invest in understanding the geniuses that were right in front of me that I did not understand through artificial intelligence. I believe with them, so my doctorate is in leadership and specifically around servant leadership and change management. But I believe like Josh and Jeff have said, that it is a change management question, but I would argue that it's also about a humanity question and not the way that most people think. I believe that AI has the potential to make us more human. If I were to tell you right now that I can help you with eliminating 80% of your administrative tasks for your day, if you didn't think about AI, that was a single question. Is there any business person today that would not say, hell yes? Because if you can do that, you can make me human again with the people that I'm serving, whether that's my employees or it's the clients that I serve. That's how I think about AI. And so we're building companies around talent. I don't hire talent around a company. I find talent and then I build around them and I complement that with AI.
Thank you, thank you. So I want to add that Todd, I first got to know Todd when he was a senior executive at Trilogy. And Carl Mertz, who's a professor who's also in the audience, and I worked with a group of students on a sentiment analysis project. This was in 2018, 19, right around that time. So he is ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time, he still is. Now, before we move on to Eric, I want to say that I think when my kids were in school, there was something called No Child Left Behind. Mm-hmm. And now it's actually possible. And so Eric will explain why. Eric?
Yeah, we're like less than a minute in and we've already gone into the black mirror. So, Eric Satterley, I think Jeff left for me to kind of say where I am. I'm the CIO at Jefferson County Public Schools, so you may have heard of us. But we are really exploring artificial intelligence. I'm struck by Todd with, making us more human, because we think that's a big piece of it, the idea of replacing people and all this. Our business isn't in driving more efficiency. Our business is in educating the people that will be the foundation of the city for years to come, right? We want to have successful kids coming to our school system. Hopefully we'll come into the University of Louisville and, ultimately just make Louisville a better and more vibrant place. And so how do we intersect that mission of education with artificial intelligence, where that is, and, to deliver that to kids? One of the biggest challenges that we have, and so I throw this out there when we start to think about, we all have problems that we solve as we go through this, and I do totally appreciate the change management piece of this. So many things are change management problems. I know that's a term that gets thrown around a lot. I know Todd talked about the who. I also say a big piece of that is the why. When you start on these initiatives, why are we doing it? What are we doing? So us really understanding our purpose and dialed in around that is important. But another huge lens that we have to think about is kind of equitable access to this. So not every kid that comes into our school district starts from the same place. So how do we think about leveling the playing field so that everybody's got a chance, right? So that we're taking care of kids, across the board. And when you think about the work and the role like a teacher has to go into the classroom, and they've got, maybe it's 25 kids in a class and there's a range. How do they deliver effective instruction to all of the kids in that class, to reach every child where they are? And I think that's one reason the teachers get so frustrated and stressed, because it's a lot when you really have to think about how do you personalize, how do you tailor things, and are you focusing on 20 and leaving 5 behind? So they're really tasked with differentiating that educational experience to all of those kids. And that's where we really see artificial intelligence can come in and be an enabler. Really think about personalizing that experience for each kid in our district where they are, and then help advance them to where they need to be. So that's the lens that we're thinking about right now.
That's great. So I first met Eric at the Heine Brothers on Bardstown Road. And so that's when he demonstrated, actually, let me go back a little earlier. So he actually had about 20 years of experience in the banking industry, right? Running the IT operations for a regional bank. And, but going back to the Heine Brothers, so he showed me a AI platform built with Google Gemini, and he showed me how you can use that, a teacher can use that to create a lesson plan and then to create assessments, all in compliance with Kentucky standards. You know, if you're a public school in Kentucky, you must comply with those standards. So if you, Eric, can dive into that a little bit and provide the context for the demo later. What is that project?
Yeah, so I'll even back up and just tell you a little bit more about what we're doing at Jefferson County Public Schools and kind of one of the challenges. I think in this massive transformation that we're in as a society with AI, and I've been, I mean, I know you're not going to believe it, I've been doing this for decades, a long time, so I almost look as good as Todd.
We've known each other for 37 years. We were in the same fraternity here, and so it's a long time.
So I've just seen a lot of these trends come and go, and I started out in really hardcore engineering and then moved into kind of the management side and technology, and so I've seen trends and I've seen these fads, and I've seen like the business side of different organizations get very excited about the new thing, and I find that like effective salespeople can come in and they get to the right spot in an organization and they tell you, I've got this amazing tool. If you just buy it, it's going to fix everything, and then they want it because it's great. But we get into this place where, and I call it the consumerization of IT. I mean, I wish I had coined that term, but it's a good one. It's where we in our personal lives have an experience or an expectation of technology, and we expect the organizations we work for to deliver that same personal experience. And so it really puts a hard demand on kind of an enterprise IT organization to deliver what people are experiencing personally. And so the point that I make with that is, how do we respond to that? How do we focus our efforts on the things that can be, fruitful and productive? So the ROI part of AI, because if we chase every AI tool that comes out and we throw everything in our district, we're going to create confusion. Too much, we have this kind of cult of stuff where we just have too much stuff and it's ineffective. So how do we simplify the portfolio, focus on the things that work, and really lean into those? And with that, we've been on a strategic mission. So I'm working on 2 years at JCPS. I haven't been there that long. Feels like a lot longer. But we have a lot of platforms. And so from a technology standpoint, we have been on a platform simplification move. We've been heavily invested in a Google Workspace ecosystem as well as the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. We are moving out heavily of that ecosystem and going all in on Google because that's the corpus of our data. That's where we want to live. That's what we want to protect. That's what we want to focus on. That's where we want to kind of set up shop. And in doing that, we've leaned into a really great partnership with Google where their product teams are actively working with us, to Jeff's point, looking at Kentucky state standards. We're partnered with them in such a way that they're considering what do we need to deliver for Kentucky, and we're one of a few states that's on their map. So as we start to work on, say, lesson plans or different things that we can create inside of Gemini, it's mindful of what that means to map to Kentucky state standards, and further than mapping that to the assessments that we need to give to be in compliance with standards, or to make sure that lesson plans map to those standards. So it's a fantastic opportunity that we wouldn't have, or we couldn't afford if we were chasing every windmill of a new product that came up that was going to do this thing or fix whatever. So I'm a big fan of simplification, focus in on your core stack, and then really invest in that, and that's where we are.
Thank you. And moving on to Todd. So Todd, I know that you're one of the most innovative people I know in Louisville. And I visited with Todd at his Thumbprint office, which was last year?
Yes, sir.
And I went because I was very grateful to Todd for having hired, what, 5 to 7 students from us?
I think 8.
8, okay, oh my gosh.
Out of the master's in data.
The data science program,
Data
yes.
science program, yeah.
So
International students.
yeah, and they're international students, and they're getting such a great experience, and some of them probably have stayed on, some of them have left, graduated. But Todd, can you talk about your company or companies and then the impact of AI?
Yeah, I'll start with the whole ROI conversation, which I think, McKinsey recently did a study about this and said that 90% of all projects in AI are not ROI. There's no ROI yet in it. And I think to Eric's point, it's partly because, when you're early in adoption of any technology, there's a lot thrown at you and you're not sure which one to grab onto. I've been fortunate enough that I made an investment, a year ago. I read a book called The AI-Driven Leader. It's by a guy named Jeff Woods. And it opened my mind up to what I should be doing with AI and how I can be doing it. Because my leadership style is focus on who and how before the what and the when. And so when I started to figure that out, to again Eric's point, I invested in that and actually got in that collective. So this guy has a collective. There's 80 other CEOs or C-suite leaders of companies. And we help each other formulate what it is that we could be or should be doing with our time. And it's helped accelerate my ability to choose the right product for the thing that I want, because literally I'm now in 3 different groups nationally. And one of the major benefits is that I can get on the WhatsApp for our group and I can say, I did this like 6 months ago, I need a really good presentation software for AI because I'm tired of spending a couple hours on building a presentation, okay? And immediately it came back. There were 2 that came back, and then one resoundingly was the one that people said, and they gave me reasons why. And so within literally a matter of 2 or 3 hours, I had an answer that I felt more confident in because I had points of reference. And then I used it, and I'm like, holy cow, okay? And I had an experience in that I had this new client that I'm going after, a prospect on a client in one of our companies, and I'm talking to them, and they go to the CEO. This is a couple $100,000 potential client, and they go to the CEO, and they send me back an email and said the CEO loves what you're talking about, but he has these 4 questions. Okay, I had built the original deck in a matter of 10 minutes that I sent to them and went through with them. But then when they sent that email back, I put those 4 questions in in Gamma.app, okay, and it responded and gave me a PowerPoint presentation within about 3 minutes of responding to that, of me getting the email. And then I'm an audio learner, and I'll show you this. I then flipped that into Notebook LM and made a podcast. And then I flipped it into InVideo and made a video of it, and I sent that all to the CEO within 30 minutes. So if you want to use things, you got to figure out how the tools in AI actually are practically used, not just theoretically used. And I do that in part by understanding who it is that I want to be talking to and putting myself around. Again, I'm who, then how, then what, then when. And to one other point, Eric and I both have had a history of being very passionate about education. And I will tell you that I believe that AI, we are on the cusp of a 12 to maximum 24 months that we're going to do something in education that is going to be that I'm a part of. I built 3 different companies because I believe in this thing. I believe that education's getting ready to do exactly what happened to healthcare 30 years ago, which was 30 years ago, healthcare you go in, you got diagnosed with a disease or whatever, and then they built a treatment plan based off of that disease. They moved that about 30 years ago into understanding there were a whole lot of other factors that went into that. Your environment, your past, your DNA, all of these things. And they moved to patient-centered care. If you're in healthcare, you understand that term. You know, I believe we're getting ready to move in education that in 2 to 3 years, we're going to laugh that we focus so much on content and very little on delivery. I'm an audio learner. My dad passed away when I was 13, and I genuinely thought I was stupid. Genuinely. I was in advanced program in JCPS, I was in the MAG program, but I thought I was a fraud because I had a stutter. I couldn't say an S, so I was in speech therapy my entire elementary school, and I have a slight form of dyslexia. So when I went to read, I read very poorly, very slowly. It was very difficult for me, and I thought I was stupid. And when I was 15, I was in Central High School in the first legal magnet program, and I got a chance to work in a law firm the summer between my sophomore and junior year, okay? And I thought, I gotta take the TARC bus for an hour and a half from my neighborhood in the South End all the way downtown for this job. What the heck am I gonna do for an hour and a half? I don't wanna stare into no place. I went to the library, and by the grace of God, at the end cap on one of the aisles was a book called Awaken the Giant Within. It's a book by a guy named Tony Robbins, okay? And I swear to you, I looked at that and I thought, that's how I want to feel. I don't feel like that, I feel like a fraud. And again, the grace of God, I went there, they didn't have books, they had this huge thing that was audiobooks. I didn't even know they made books on tape, okay? I got that thing, it was 12 cassettes, huge, okay? I took it back, and on that first trip on that TARC bus, I put that thing into my Walkman. Yes, I'm dating myself, but put that thing into a Walkman, turned it on, and all of a sudden my brain went like this.
Yes.
I'm an audio learner.
Yes.
AI is going to allow for us to take each person to take an assessment about how you learn. And it in real time is going to take that content and allow you to learn the way that you learn best, not changing the content, but focusing on the delivery. That excites me. You know, and that's something that I think is bigger than just how can I use it by being better at writing emails.
Yes, Todd, that's a very, very powerful message. And I think what I want to paraphrase Todd, that AI is going to make us more human. Everything we do, we're human-centered, right? Just so also, since we're human-centered, it means that college business is student-centered. So here's a message for the students. So Todd described those use cases just now. And I want to remind my students that what you get out of AI is really directly proportional to what you bring to AI. So, by the way, I have read the book. Todd made me read the book. It's by Jeff Woods. And then I read it, I liked it, and I shared it with Steve Goldman. And he read it, and he said he also enjoyed reading it. Speaking of Steve Goldman, Josh, of course, went through our MBA program, and he had to take Steve's class. So I'm really grateful that he's willing to come back today and talk to us. So Josh?
Yeah, a couple things you all pointed out that I really liked. This idea of there's statistically very little ROI in AI projects. I think that what that comes from, I've seen a couple of examples of this. Everyone thinks they're Henry Ford. In the
Can you?
no?
Is the mic on?
Shit. Oh, back. We good?
Are you on?
Okay. If I talk down, does that work?
No, use mine.
Yeah. Oh.
Wait.
No.
I would use that.
Yeah.
So, okay, everybody can hear me now. All right, I can hear myself. This is great. What I mean by, oh, this one's gonna feedback if I don't.
Yeah, give it to him.
get rid of it.
Where's the, here. Thank you.
Drop that.
Todd, sing a song. Go.
You don't want that.
So yeah, everyone thinks they're Henry Ford. Henry Ford had the famous quote that if he had asked people what they wanted, he would have made a faster horse. And I think everyone, you hear that and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give people what they don't know they want. That's really tough because unless what you're putting in front of them is perfect, they're not gonna use it. And that's, I think, what's the challenge when we talk about the human element of this. If you put a tool in front of somebody that's not intuitive or that has flaws, most people are going to go, yeah, I can see that's okay for a few things, and I can't trust it, right? Because it hallucinates, or it really doesn't do exactly what I want. It'd be faster for me to just do my own thing. And this happens a lot with new technology. The fun thing now is, if you were into computers in the 90s, .com bubble, you had to be technically proficient to even get a seat at the table. With these tools, you can play around and you can do things that you don't have to be a technical person. You don't even have to know how it works. If you can do things and you can experiment and you can create repeatable results. So we've done some projects that were, at Heaven Hill, we're family owned, and so we can take some longer term, more long-term bets. We like to think that we're not, we make bourbon, so we don't do business in quarters, we do it in years or generations. So, we built LLMs, we've built AI products and handed them to people, and if you do that and it's not something someone's asked for, they're gonna find flaws with it, they're not gonna use it. So we have inverted that process, sort of flipped it on its head, and we're trying to meet people where they are with their problems. And we'll meet with a user group and go, what don't you like about your job? And they'll list 10 things. You go, well, actually, a large language model tool can do 3 of those. I can't do all 10. 3 of them it does really well. 5 of them it will probably do pretty well. The other ones, wait a few months and ask me again. But if you meet people where they are and you try to address the issues they have, people have we've seen great things. Multiple multi-hour processes per week just dropped off. They're now completely farmed out. And the people that have adopted, we use ChatGPT, but the people that have adopted it are doing things that, we had projects on the back burner for years. We'll get around to that someday. That's today for the people that are using it. So I would just encourage anybody, if you're AI curious, dig into one of the tools, pick one, pick 2, and try to use it for fun things. Try to use it for, you're gonna go on a trip and you plan a little bit of that trip. You've got some workflow you wanna work through, you wanna talk through something with it. And then the more comfortable you get with it, the more you use it on the things that matter. And you find that value. That's really something we've discovered. And it's worked for us.
Wow. I think, I don't know if you agree, from the answers from our 3 panelists, one thing that has emerged, and that is, this is really an age, we're entering an age of co-intelligence. Really, there's AI, which is moving fast, right? And it's getting better and better. But at the same time, the real value, return on investment of AI really comes from the adopters, right? So in each case, they bring a lot to the process, to the adoption, and to the actual use. So speaking of actual use, what I would like to do is to ask each one of them to do a brief demo, right? Seeing is believing. I can tell that you already are believing, but I've seen some of the demos, they're amazing. So starting with Josh.
I think
okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, Todd?
Yeah.
Todd, go.
So I'm gonna plug my computer in. Hopefully I don't have one of those things where you try to do something and your computer doesn't cooperate in a time frame. But let me tell you that there's a lot you can do. But what I'm gonna hopefully show you will be something that I use every day. Okay. So how many of you all know ChatGPT? I mean, it's probably the most widely known. Okay. LLM, large language model. If you don't know what LLM is, you need to go back and you just need to do a YouTube. Okay. Because I can't spend time explaining that. One of the things that I believe in is how do you accelerate the ability to serve others? And so one of the things that I do is I created a dossier. All right, so in my ChatGPT, there's this thing called projects, which are just renewable things, and I created some instructions, okay, that says, hey, I want you to do all of this, okay? So I need a volunteer who is in a business that has a website and a LinkedIn. Will somebody volunteer? It doesn't matter who you are. And if you don't want to okay, great. Tell me your name.
Justin Cockrum.
Justin?
Yes.
Is that how you spell it, Justin?
Yes.
Okay, how do you spell your last name?
COCKERHAM.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then who do you work for?
Premier Packaging, PREMIER. Packaging.
And your website is?
www.prempack.com.
Okay, it's what? Prempack?
PREMPACK.com.
We didn't stage
Okay.
this, okay?
No, I'm running this live. I mean, I don't, we've never met. And so, do you know your LinkedIn by chance?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. All right.
It should just be my name, I hope.
Why don't we check it really fast? I ran the president beforehand because I'm going to be at something. What is
COCKERHAM.
CROCKERHAM. Okay.
Yeah, you've got to misspell it. It's
Okay.
C-O-C-K.
It's what?
C-O-C-K.
C-O. C-O-C-K? That?
Yep.
There you are, right there. All right. All I'm doing is taking his stuff, and honestly, most of the time I don't type because, as you can tell, I'm a slow typist. Okay, I literally speak to ChatGPT. I've got 7 minutes in between, and I'm not even going to fix that spelling error because it doesn't matter. All right. If you don't know, there's different things that you can do at ChatGPT. One of them is deep research. All that means is it's going to go to town on Justin here and get me 20 to 40 pages on Justin that he's not, not probably usually public with. So we're going to run this for a second. Yeah, you got a question?
Yeah. So going through like U of L, we all have access to Copilot. I'm just curious, like everything that you're doing.
Can do the same thing in Copilot. I just don't like Copilot as much. It's just a personal preference thing. I have a default. Now I'm going to, while this runs, because it's going to ask me a question. Okay, it's supposed to ask me a question. So all I'm supposed to do is literally put this in. Okay, now it's starting research. It should ask me a quick question about some clarification about why would I want to meet you. Okay, what's going on with that? It may not do that. But I'm going to talk about hallucinations because I think this is one of the things that people talk about and they're afraid. Hey, bad information, what if it hallucinates, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. You want to know what hallucinates more than AI? People. Okay, now I'm going to show you something that I use to help me on that. Is anybody familiar with ChatHub? If you're not, this is $40, okay? And how much would you pay to get 6 geniuses? Okay, I could put, this is a $40, gives me an account on a crazy number of LLMs, okay? Including the ones you think. So I like these, so ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek, Perplexity, and Gronk. Okay, those are the 6 that I use. All right, I could put a a prompt in here. Again, I'm a terrible typist, but I use Jeff Woods talks about this in his books, CRIT. Context, role, interview, task. So, you know, it's only as good as what you give it in context. And so I always talk about 20-60-20 rule, okay? 20% is what you put in up front that you have to put in context and let it know what it is you're asking for. It's taken 80 billion books and it's trying to find the answer for you. AI right now oftentimes is the force. You hear all these amazing things, okay? And if you put in some generic prompt, it's going to give you an answer from the forest. But the reality is all I need is my tree. My one tree. And so the more context you give it, the better you're going to get your tree, okay? This can help me be able to get better answers, okay? And it'll help me eliminate hallucinations. And I can run all 6 of these in a prompt at the same time, get different answers, and say, I like this one, and this one, and then hit the button down there, and it will synthesize an answer from those. All in the same moment. So you don't have to go to 6 different ones. You can just go to Chat Hub, and it's $40, and it gives you an account on each of these. And so I tell you that just so that you know that there are things you can do. But after that 20% of what you invest in, AI will do 60%. But then somebody's got to do the subject matter expert looking over it, making sure that you're refining the last 20%. I don't care what AI it is, whether you're building an app, whether you're asking it for a report, whether you're doing a presentation in Gamma, you want to look at it. You know, I mean, if you don't, it's like giving a project to an employee and saying, do this project, I'm never going to look at it when you give it to me, and I'm going to give it to the CEO of another company and think that it's going to be okay. Now, that's stupid. Don't treat AI any different than you treat a good employee. What would you do? You TBV, trust but verify. You know, let's see if this is running, because I want to show you one quick thing on this. Where's my mouse? All right. So it's still running, and so what it's going to do is it's going to come back, and the way that this prompt reads, it's actually got my 6 companies in there and brief descriptions, okay? And the whole goal here is every person that I meet, every single new person that I meet, I run a dossier on everybody. Then I told you earlier, I'm an audio learner. So what do? I take that 20 to 40 page dossier and I flip it into Notebook LM, which is a Google product. Okay, and so this is an example. I did a dossier. I'm hosting the chancellor for the American University of Sharjah for a breakfast on Saturday. I don't know him. He's in town for the Ali Center. A friend of mine asked me if I would host an event for him, so I'm doing that. So I ran a dossier on him. It's about 40 pages. And then I flip it into here. I'm an audio learner, and it creates a podcast for me. And it synthesizes the information. Let me see if you can hear. I don't know if it's hooked up to where you can't get sound. But basically, this is talking. It synthesizes between 2 people and creates me a synthesized podcast. I'm an audio learner. So every time I do a dossier, I put it in there for a podcast. Every morning before, this is what it sounds like. Thank you. My man taking care of me again.
Yeah.
No.
How behind his ability to manage huge systemic transformations while at the same time aggressively.
So it's talking. Now I will tell you, I run that at 2.0 because this is too damn slow for me. Okay, audiobooks I run at 2.0. My brain needs to be like this or I get bored and I go to sleep. Okay, so but when that happens, I get a chance to see this stuff, hear it, learn, and that dossier program doesn't just tell me about him, but it tells me about him related to my 6 companies. How could I serve him? What are the things that he might be interested in that align based off of the dossier with my companies? So that when we meet, I not only know some stuff about him, but I know and can, so I just got back from Dubai at the GITEX conference, which is the largest AI conference in the world. And I had the amazing blessing that I got to meet with the head of AI for all of Dubai. Okay, hour and 15-minute meeting, just he and I sitting down, learning about what they're doing. Well, I learned that I was going to have that meeting at 8:30 on a Friday morning, and the meeting was at 10 o'clock. I hadn't taken a shower yet because I was working still, okay? I did my dossier, went to the shower, took my shower, got dressed, got the dossier out, flipped it to Notebook LM. It created my podcast, and on my drive over to his office, I listened to everything, and because of that, I knew some things that they were doing and things that might align with what I was doing, that when he said, you know, are there a couple things that you think that we could work on together? I was able to say, yes, here's a couple of ideas that might be a good fit. I was prepared.
Yeah.
You want to win, you got to be prepared.
Yeah. This is
Sorry.
amazing.
Go
It's almost like cheating. No, Todd. So
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Eric, you want to
There
come
you
up
go.
and show?
yeah,
You got the hook, man.
amazing. So
I know.
you guys have seen AI in action, right? And it really makes a fundamental difference, especially for a startup. And he has 6.
What is it that's pulling it? Is it just ChatGPT or does
Yeah.
it go to your
That was just ChatGPT going out and researching all. It'll pull YouTube videos, social media, anything that you can imagine.
on a single person
Single person.
from LinkedIn?
From those 4 pieces of information I put in.
And I'm gonna show you. So Notebook LM, Todd started on that and showed you something. I'm just gonna add one little piece of this. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with Notebook LM, but we use this. So with Notebook LM, a Google product, you can put material in that you only want that to be the source of what the AI comes back with. So when we need like tightly constrained things, we use Notebook LM. One of the things that we have across the school system is something called HQIRs, High Quality Instructional Resources. You guys are hot. And
Thank you, Eric. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. He hasn't said that for like 30 years.
it's been, well, it's been about 30 years. So when we have to train it on just certain material, this is what we use. But Todd showed you the podcast feature, which is amazing. I'm just going to show you one. So we have a thing called map testing. Maybe you wonder what it is. And if you wonder, you could hear what it is because
Today we're digging into a world of K-8 academic assessments, specifically MAP growth measures of academic progress from
right.
WPA.
Right.
We've sifted through
I
the
just wanna
latest
show you
guidance,
this one feature
the
as you go
implementation
through.
doc.
One of the things that you can now do with like this podcast feature is it has an interactive mode, which is not doing great for me right now. But if this were working flawlessly, you can now interject and ask it questions and go back and forth. And it's pretty cool. And if this thing comes through, then that's what we'll do. But won't. So, but that's not really what I was here to show you. What I'm here to show you is what we're doing with Google Classroom. So this is Google Classroom is our LMS, learning management system that we have across the district. And I just want to show you the features that we have that are tailored specifically to the educational product within AI. So here's a tool set that we have for educators. And some of these things, I mean, when you see the little Gemini symbol, that's going to take you to kind of the traditional Gemini look. But a lot of these others are sort of custom tailored tools to a specific task. So I'm going to click on this outline a lesson plan. And you can come in, and now, depending on what grade you teach, you can build a lesson plan for that grade. So anybody want to throw out a K-12 grade for me? Second grade. Love it. Okay. Is there a topic, a learning standard? What would you like this lesson to be about? Anybody? Recycling.
Like science.
Okay. Yeah.
She's a sustainability major.
I love it. Yeah. I'm just going to say generate. So taking that, generate some learning objectives that you would have for second grade. So what do you think about these? So now you're in with me. So take a look at these learning objectives. What do you think? Would you modify those in any way? Can you, actually, it's pretty small, isn't it? So anything you would do different, add? And you don't have to. But we could stick. So tell me a little bit about your class, if you would. Like you can come back and say, I don't know, I say I've got 30 kids in the class. I have maybe, making stuff up, 10 gifted and talented. 3 ADHD. Maybe like 6 multi learners. things like, I mean, so you can do a lot. You can say maybe students have Chromebooks, like whatever it is, come back and then tell it to generate the lesson plan for you. So now hopefully faster than Todd's dossier, this is going to come back and...
He's taking a shower.
He's taking, okay, yeah, yes,
Yeah.
Epic. And so this comes back and it breaks down kind of a lesson plan of, hey, here's lesson materials needed. You can see that it comes in, it's like, great, students have Chromebooks for activity 2. You're going to do this digital sorted challenge. Tells you other things that you might need, the preparation you have, common misconceptions you'll have going into this lesson. Activity 1 breaks it down, and then you can start to see where it comes back and it says, okay, here's the differentiation piece that you would do in the lesson. And then you can go through all this. It can come back. It can give you an assessment, an exit ticket for the class. You can export that into a doc. You can export that into a form, or you could build that for a quiz that you wanted to give. You can continue to just vibe with this. So you can modify this. You can make changes. And one of the things is, now you've got this lesson plan, and maybe the administrator in your school is like, I want to see how your lesson plan aligns with the Danielson framework. So if you're in education, that's big, so you could just get some help on that. So if I give it a second, then it's going to come back and it breaks down the Danielson framework and then shows where every element of this lesson plan aligns. So teachers spend a lot of time doing tasks like this, like showing how the lesson plan that they created aligns with either Kentucky State Academic Standard, Danielson framework, whatever it may be. We might have special rubrics that we have and have to present, but we can feed that in and then align lesson plans. So all of this stuff that teachers spend, Sunday nights, just tons of time doing some of these tasks just went away. And this is created, and it's fantastic. They also have the ability to come in here because this is grounded in resources that are allowed for us. They can go out and into our space in YouTube and find relevant videos that they can use and plug into the class. So as you begin to build the plan for the class and the lesson plan, you can do all of that. And then the last thing that I won't show, but I'll just give a nod to, you can then take this and go back and create an assessment, map that back to specific Kentucky State standards, and it will show how the kids do in the assessment map to how they're performing according to standards. So you as an educator then have a chance to look at your class and say, oof, these standards are where I really need to put more focus. So you can turn into that. Our next iteration of that is then looking at the kids that need help in those areas, building custom tailored tutoring gyms, which is like agentic AI that can go for that kid to help them in those specific areas. So there's a lot of future opportunities for us. So that's the quick snapshot.
Yeah, this is amazing. And this is today, right? Yeah, set it up. And imagine what it will be like this time next year.
Speakers right there. Whoa. Now, we're kind of running out on time, so this is just going to be a quick activity. We're going to do a show of hands. Which of these cocktails, this is a brand we own called Deep Eddy Vodka. They're out of Austin, Texas, and they're phenomenal. Which of these cocktails is AI generated, and which ones were actually photographed by my creative services department? The biggest complaint I frequently get about ChatGPT and other AI tools is the pictures are garbage, and you try to iterate with them and it doesn't get any better. Now, I'm here to tell you, if you're a photographer and you tell ChatGPT, I want this focal length with lighting from this direction, and I want these camera settings, when you describe a picture, they look photorealistic. Wow. So again, show of hands when you think you found the AI-generated cocktail. Got a couple hands. Got a hand there. A couple hands in the back. Okay, I'll scroll back through. So cranberry mojito.
I'm just getting thirsty.
We can fix this. Orange crush. Southern porch sipper. Pina colada. So now let's get hands, get a commit to this. Who thinks pina colada is AI generated? Couple, 4, 5, 6. Get a consensus here. Southern porch sipper, we got more hands. Okay. Orange crush, any hands? Got some hands there. Cranberry mojito. Cranberry mojito and Southern porch sipper were both AI generated. The other two were photographed.
Well, we thought it was a trick question, but I'll say that the ice is too perfect in those two pictures that you mentioned.
Yes. Funny story about the cranberry mojito. So they start with the recipe, and then they build the cocktail, and then they take pictures of it. The recipe called for dried cranberries. If you imagine what it would look like putting dried cranberries in your drink, it is not appealing. So that whole photo shoot would have been ruined because they would not have gotten a good picture at all. But since they did it with ChatGPT, they just stopped with the dried cranberry pictures and said, hey, let me get some fresh cranberries. They look much more appealing.
Wow.
But yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, you wanna say
That's wonderful. We're a little bit behind, so we'll allow some time for Q&A. If we panelists can go back to your seat. Great demos. Okay, now Q&A, and you have your. All right. Do we have any questions?
Hi. I wanted to ask, in particular, to Josh and Heaven Hill, how are you all thinking about AI from a senior leadership perspective and as part of your overarching corporate strategy? Can you speak to how it's being addressed at that? Because you have different buckets of data that is used throughout your organization. You've got some ERP system, you have some CRM system, you have, production data that you generate. You've got stuff in, Microsoft that is, or Google that is, in SharePoint or Drive or whatever you all are using. That's a wealth of data. Using these LLMs is great, but it can be even more powerful when you incorporate your data into it. So how are you all thinking about it, and how is it being addressed and accepted from a senior leadership perspective and as part of your overarching corporate strategy?
Sure. So I like that you ask about all of the different sets of data. That's absolutely true, and it presents a challenge in that we can't just give someone ChatGPT access to whatever data set there is. One thing we've done is we've actually taken, it's along the concept of a forward deployed engineer. We call them business solutions partners. But we have former members of different segments of our business, HR, operations, sales, embedded in our IT department that lead a Scrum team of developers with these solutions. So they meet with the users, they understand the users because they used to be one, and they understand the technology enough to go, this is a pain point for us, this is a challenge for us. Hey, remember how you always tell me that you can't get this thing to work? And those groups work on both what I would consider legacy IT, Power BI dashboards and web forms and the things that kept the business running to now. But they also pepper in, right now it's more of a peppering in of, we could come up with a ChatGPT solution for that, or we could come up with an agent that would take care of this entire workflow. The one thing that is a challenge for us, because again, we're coming at this with a people mindset, an education mindset, we don't want to replace anyone with AI. The beauty is we're still a growing company, but we're a growing company in an industry that, if you're aware of the industry at all, there are definite headwinds. So a lot of the effort is we want to keep growing. We don't necessarily want to hire to keep growing. So it is, how do we allocate the people we have with tools so that we can continue our growth plan without adding headcount. And we're adding headcount, but we've done it at a slower rate to match the growth, which has been really nice. So again, it's about how do we allocate the people we have and help them do their jobs.
Just to follow on to that, do you find that senior leadership is completely bought into it, or do you find that there's still a little skepticism and you want to, pick and choose your, points of entry and
Yep.
so forth?
So my chief production officer is the #1 user of ChatGPT at the company. HR has built a ton of tools, but they are skeptical that, what are we losing in human-to-human interaction? If somebody is not asking their HR business partner, what are my benefits that are available to me? They're asking a chatbot. People liked the chatbot. It got to the point where the HR business partners were asking the chatbot when people came to them. But there is some concern with that piece. There's also a concern, I think it's maybe defensiveness, with groups like finance, where you need an analyst because your data is not clean, or you need an analyst because only they understand the context that's what's going on. In my role, the trick to combat that is our finance analysts are the best ones in finance using ChatGPT, so they're pushing up the benefits that they're seeing, not so much being forced down from the top. So, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Next question? Yes, I'm sorry.
Have you been able to identify ROI specifically, given that you're an early adopter in the sense that if we got to the point to where you're able to put your finger on it and say, hey, based on this, we're this much more productive, or will that come down the road?
So with our entire ChatGPT investment, I can't say that is what has been recovered from an ROI perspective. But I know for a fact that individual workflows, we have paid for plenty of users' subscriptions based on the work. A quick example is our sustainability group takes our invoices from we have production operations all over the country, and they all get a utility bill. And we have to report out to the EPA and various other regulatory bodies, right, what our emissions are. We're able to scan those bills that all come from different utilities into an automated system. It fills out the paperwork for the EPA, and we've eliminated 2 days worth of work for someone a month. Those kind of projects are everywhere.
Next question?
Hello, my name is Justin Harrison. Thank you for your time and for the knowledge share. Really appreciate it. Really insightful. This question is for any of the panelists. We've discussed how AI isn't really a technical problem, but more of like a change management problem. And we discussed how the real value through AI is the ROI comes from the people and from the adopters of the folks who actually use the tools. My question for the group is, how do you move someone or an organization from being AI curious, like we mentioned, to AI confident?
Here we go. There's lots of approaches you can take. I'm sure they'll share some. One of my favorite approaches is like the guerrilla tactic. So I'm always lugging the laptop around, and when I see people, if it's at central office or somebody to school, I'm like, hey, did you know what Jim and I can do? And people are often resistant. Sometimes when you first bring that up, it's like, well, I don't like it, I don't trust it. But generally, especially like teachers, when I have a chance to show them that, a lot of times initially I may get met with a degree of resistance. Within 15 minutes, I'm getting hugs. And people are like, wait, this can do what? Like, you just gave me, to the point about being human, you just gave me time back, you just gave me my life back. So I think it's showing people, and obviously if you want to be strategic about it, it's showing the right people, influencers in your organization, turn them, get them excited, and just.
I don't think it's any different than anything else. It's typically called the law of diffusion of innovation, and I'm not smart enough to know all of the pieces in it, but it's basically a 20-60-20 rule. 20% get it, 20% on the other side are never going to get it. If you spend your time on the 20% that are never going to get it, you don't understand the word never. And that's not a stupidity or laziness. I am in that 20% about building IKEA furniture. I can't do it. Okay, it's just a fact. I don't know why I can't do it. But the real goal is, how do you embrace the 20 in a way that they encourage the 60 and don't make these 20 into being elevated above the 60, and then the 60 thinks that they're being compared to the 20. They know they're not the 20. And when we do that in our internal culture as a company, what we've done is we demoralize these people. Instead of engaging these people to be the champions to help these people, we've separated our own people. And so, you know, for me, one of the other things that we try to do is like very small, like hackathons, where we know that there's a common problem among multiple people. Can you come up with a solution, and then I'm going to reward you? You know, have fun with it, and then let other people see that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say, think of businesses in 2025 that don't have websites or that don't use computers. People that you know that don't use smartphones. That is what not using AI tools will be, much faster than it took for websites or smartphones to come into existence. The growth on this thing is so different than these technology changes that happened in the past. The roadmap is the same. You've got your early adopters, you've got your trough of disillusionment, you've got, you know, that rise, but it's happening faster. So,
thank you. Next question.
Thank you all so much.
My name is John Pyron. I'm a student of the Innovation MBA program here, so thanks. Appreciate y'all's time. Question really for me is more kind of nuts and bolts, particularly on the models that you're using, the bots that you're using, like Eric, the demo that you did, Todd, what you were talking about with the dossier, Josh too. How much of that, because I've built some of those models like within ChatGPT and have had issues with the prompting and feeding it information and all that. How do you see that changing? How have you used that? How much time have you had to spend to build those? And did you have, you know, an engineer person kind of doing that for you, or was that something that you were able to do on your own?
Is it okay if I take this first?
Yeah.
So, you know, one of the things when I started to expand the business, so 2 years ago I had 3 people, including me. Okay. Now, between the companies, I'd say that we probably have 75 or so. Okay, I'm not really sure. Okay, but one of the things that happened that I did not anticipate was the fact that more people meant more people coming to my office to ask me questions. Okay, and I did a 3-week like kind of qualitative assessment on those questions, and 60% of them plus were really affirmation. Okay, and it was about anything in the business. So I asked ChatGPT, how can I, serve my people, but get my life back to where I can do my job, And what came back in some brainstorming, because I believe AI is your thought partner, not the thought leader. You are the thought leader. So when AI says something I don't like, I say bullshit. I don't want that. Give me what I want and give me 10x better. And when I say that I say it, I literally talk it into my phone. Okay, I do not type, all right, I'm slow, all right, they didn't care about context, it doesn't care whether you spell right, it doesn't care whether you say or whatever it is. So you got to learn to use it as the tool it is, not the tool you think it is. So what I did was I actually created Todd.ai. So I fed it 3 years of my emails, 3 years of my Fathom recordings. I fed it all of my writings. I feed it every day it gets my stuff. And so now, no one's allowed to come see me with a question until they go to Todd.ai first. I got my life back, okay? And you know what? I still serve them because the answers are freakishly good. They might even be better than I would answer, okay? But I think that those are the types of things where you have an opportunity to learn that by just having a question about, this is the problem. Help me with my own problem. AI is the only thing that I know can tell you how to be better, not just you, but how it can be better for you.
I'll grab that. So we've got 100,000 kids, almost 20,000 employees. Our technology team, I mean, we do a lot of things, but we're like 125 people. We do have a team that does app dev for us. We have a lot of custom software that's been developed over the years. And I say that just to say we got some crazy smart people. But when I think about what we need to do, when I think about how do we roll this out for a school district and support and maintain that, you've got to really like weigh how do you manage an enterprise for that. So for us to do, like novel or some of these like, artisanal solutions on scale, impossible. So we have to lean into like our partnership with Google. And so we have a regular cadence with product managers and engineers there where they are building things in Gemini to spec for JCPS, which is crazy awesome that we have that relationship. So they're taking feedback that we have, making their product better. Everybody in education will benefit from that, but we're at the forefront of that with them, and I feel good about that being distributed to our district. That's fantastic. On the other side, back to the crazy smart people. So we do run some local LLMs where we try to solve things that are maybe some of those artisanal approaches. So I have 150 legacy software applications. And sometimes those things have existed over decades and you don't even know why it got started. But it's really good at helping you figure out what is the business logic behind some of these things, like some of these, LLMs that you can bring in. So there's where I'm more willing to take a risk, bring something in, tweak. We're going to do stuff with Llama or run things locally where we'll try to figure out, because I got low risk there. So to me, it's a balance of like how much risk am I willing to accept and that tolerance. So that's sort of the equation.
Every meeting where somebody wants something built, and specifically we use a lot of custom GPTs within the ChatGPT environment. They meet with me and they say, I want you to build me this. And I say, get your laptop out. Start typing what you want. We go back and forth for probably 20 minutes before someone goes, okay, I got it, I'll call you in a week. 20 minutes with sitting down with somebody and saying, look, I will hold your hand through this. They will have a chatbot that can be a job coach, or we do a lot of barrel allocation. So do I use this barrel for a 12-year batch? It's 13 years old. If I save it for 15, it's worth this much more, but I've got to fill these orders. Those kind of logic decisions. We've got some that are our tier 1 tech support help desk is now a custom GPT. And those all started with less than 30 minutes of sitting down with somebody and talking through what they wanted.
That's great answers. One more question. We have time for one more question.
Hey, Justin again. I'm a part-time student here for the College of Business and work full-time. But for a business that is wanting to pursue AI for the first time to enhance a business process, right? What would you say would be the best piece of advice that you can give for a business that's wanting to implement AI into business processes?
So I would say I need a little more context. Do you already have a business that you're trying to do that and you want to do that for?
I believe it's Premier Packaging.
Yes,
well,
yeah.
No, but I mean, are you doing it for Premier Packaging? Or
yes.
are you doing it? Okay, all right. Well, that doesn't mean he wants to stay at Premier Packaging.
I read your dossier. It was good. Yeah.
Thanks, bud. I'm a believer. The first thing I do is I find 2 or 3 experts that I listen to, and then I read the book and I listen to podcasts. Because I get context in that and I get applications that I believe in more, because for me, I want to be all in. If you want to create a capability, which is what I hear you saying, I want to be capable of implementing this AI tool and then being able to make a difference in the community, in the business, is I believe in what's called the 4 C's formula, okay? That you first have to commit to a capability. And the bigger a commitment you make on the front end, the shorter the time period and pain is for the second C, which is courage. Because, whether it's doing what you're doing or riding a bike, the first time that you rode a bike, you had to commit to either getting on that bike and riding, even though you might have saw your brother break his arm, which I did. And so that courage, the amount of commitment lowers that courage. But then ultimately, by that commitment, you actually get the capability. And when you keep using it, then you gain the confidence. And the confidence is where the ROI is. The ROI is not in being able to do something. The The ROI is being able to do it faster, better, stronger because you actually know your stuff. So if you think that you're going to get ROI by knowing one thing, you know, and doing it for the first time and then doing something new the next time and next time, you're never going to get an ROI that way, ever. You know, the other thing I'll say about ROI, since this subject, ROI is largely dependent on how much you put in the front side. So if I paid $40 for a tool and some of my time and I'm able to produce something from that, that's a great ROI. If I pay somebody else a couple $100,000 to build something, it's harder for me to make that ROI. Okay? I have to make sure that I'm asking the right questions and giving the developer the right information up front. Otherwise, it does not matter that you had it all up here. It matters whether or not you can articulate it out there so it actually creates what you want the first time around to keep your cost and your time down.
And I make one point too, whatever you do, especially if you're doing it for your business, like make sure you protect yourself as much as you can. Use licensed versions of products. Don't use the free stuff just because it's free out there. I mean, not that that's going to save you, but these are the great steps that you can take. So I would definitely encourage you make sure you protect the company before you enter into, you know, putting company sensitive data into models and things like that.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Well, excellent. I learned so much today, and I think AI is here. And if you don't do AI, you might be at a serious disadvantage, right? If think about traveling to, let's say, Cincinnati. If the only option you have is riding a horse, I mean, it may be fun, but you'll be at a certain disadvantage to those that can either drive or fly. So anyway, I want to give our panelists a big round of applause.